Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, presents the Friends in Recovery Saturday Shares, as they share their stories about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matt. I am an alcoholic. Let's see. My sober date is June 13th, 2010. I have a sponsor. My sponsor has a sponsor. And I go to 3 meetings a week in person, which I'm pretty happy about that. I have 2 home groups. One's a step meeting and one's a men's meeting. I say that because I think my topic tonight is it's going to be basically living the program. And, I want to thank Ed for, inviting me and asking me to share my experience, strength, and hope. I feel like when the program of Alcoholics Anonymous has asked me to do something, I always, if possible, I will always say yes, just because I really believe like the program that I am connected with has given me so much in my life. It has allowed me to become a man that when I look at myself in the reflection, I like what I see. And now you're talking to a person who I would say, in his early 20s, I would look at my reflection and I would cry. Over the years, I would hear men speak and they said they couldn't shave or brush their teeth because they couldn't look at themselves in the mirror. I honestly could not look at myself in the mirror because the damage and the harm that I did to the people that shared my last name. And like I learned along this journey, the people that we hurt first are the people that we share the last names with. It was always my mom. It was always my siblings. I knew when I put alcohol in me, it wasn't the person that my God wanted me to be. When you put alcohol in me, I became a different person. That's why thank you, John, for reading. I didn't know you guys, read how it works. And the reason why I just jumped into that, because my brain thinks quicker than my mouth. The fact of the matter is, I truly believe everything in this book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like when they said, this book was written for me, this book was truly written for me. And when John read that, how it works, it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. When they asked the author of this book if there was anything they were going to change about this book, right? They said if they were going to change anything about this book, his response was, on how it works, he wanted to change the word rarely to never. And I firmly believe that. As Ed mentioned, we've known each other, Ed, believe it or not. We've known each other for coming up on eight years. And the reason why I know that, probably even longer, probably 9. And the reason why I know that, when I got clean and sober, the facility I work at was my first job in the field. And believe it or not, I'm still at that job. And just another gift of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I could never keep a job to save my life, right? And I was in the restaurant industry, and that was such a poor choice for this alcoholic, because I was at a bar, I was a bartender, I worked at a liquor store. I surrounded myself with alcohol. That's how much I liked it. And as my disease progressed, so did the choices of the substances that I was using as well. You know, when I work in the field, a lot of the young men and women will come up to me and they want to like qualify me to see if I have any clue of what I'm talking about. So they always ask me, hey, Matt, what's your substance of choice? And I always said to them, and I say to them, whatever's in your pocket, like what was ever in your pocket to get me out of self, right? I didn't like who I was. I didn't use to feel good. I used so I wouldn't feel bad. I wouldn't feel anxiety or guilt or depression. That's why I used, because using was fun for me at a time, but at a certain point in my life, it turned. I mean, I don't want to go into war stories. I just want to say one thing. Being a young man from the Boston area, my life was at, you know, at a split in the road. And the judge at the court, Boston Municipal Court, the female judge said to me, mandatory 6 months. I was so confused. I didn't know what the word mandatory meant. And I'm looking at this public defender saying, hey, buddy, come on, let's go. I want to get out of here. I have places to see, people to meet, stuff like that. And the guy explained to me, he's like, listen, pal, he's like, you're going to jail. And then all of a sudden, I just started crying. And by the grace of God, this attorney went up to the bench. He said, this was my, client's first time in the court, yada, yada, yada. And I got a 3-year probation. I didn't serve a second in prison. Now, my brother, Chris, he's been sober since he was 24. He's now 55. And he said to me, Matt, do you know why you didn't go to jail? And I said, yeah, because I had a great attorney. He said, no, you didn't go to jail because of God's will. And I had no idea what God's will was. And as a matter of fact, I was raised Irish Catholic, and, I did 5 of the 7 sacraments. And the fact of the matter is I never had a relationship with God. I had a vengeful God. I didn't have a loving God. And the fact of the matter was, when my brother Chris told me it was God's will, he then explained to me that I didn't go to jail because if I went to jail, God knew I would have probably came out of prison more messed up and more of a delinquent and a menace to society, right? So to fast forward it, just like everybody, and Mary Ann, congratulations on a year. I mean, that's such a beautiful thing to hear. When I hear that at my home group, or I hear someone when I'm visiting other meetings, hear some of that, like that's a testimony not only to your hard work, but it's a testimony to like the big book or the 12-step or whatever way you're doing to be completely abstinent one day at a time. Right. I'm a big fan of completely abstinence. I don't believe in putting any type of mind-altering drug in my system. Right. This is my program. That's why like my topic tonight was going to be talked about living the program. And the reason why I want to talk about living the program is like, I think this is the foundation that was given to me as a young man, that when I applied, it worked. But like my ego always got in the way. I felt like I had all the answers. I was always the smartest person in the room, when in fact, I probably was the most uneducated, and it was just my low self-esteem. So I had to present as this person to think like you had to validate who I was. So I really believe like the first meeting I went to, I got a sponsor. And not right away, but like probably in a month. And like he sat me down. He said, Matt, he goes, I just want to explain to you, this program only works under 2 conditions. He's like, if you stay completely sober, and if you're willing to take advice from other sober men and women. And I thought I was ready for that. I thought I could. But then I realized, I still was full of that false bravado, and you couldn't tell me what to do. And I don't know, I was just a very I was just a very proudful person, but I had nothing to be proudful for, if that makes sense, right? I also like want to talk about like when it says unmanageability in the first step. It says right here, I'll just read it from the book. Maybe we're powerless over alcohol. Then it says dash, that our lives have become unmanageable. That's two separate things, right? I'm powerless over alcohol, period, well, dash, and my life is unmanageable. So even though that I'm sober, 11 years, my life still can become unmanageable. And the way my life becomes unmanageable is not working my program. So my program consists of pretty basic things. Go to meetings, ask for help. Work steps. I have a sponsor, work step, and help another alcoholic. I worked with this gentleman before he passed. Probably had about 30 something years sober. He was in my home group. And his motto was, stay sober and not help another alcoholic. His motto was stay sober and help another human being, right? Because this is how this program works. It's not just that we keep this patience, tolerance, love inside of our halls. We got to keep it and spread it across our community so that our community can see what love is really about, right? I've learned these spiritual principles in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I believe it's my duty to live it out in community, right? Because geez, guys, gals, think about it. 90% of the people in our communities don't come into AA meetings. They're not learning about spiritual principles. They're not getting connected to their higher power, right? So how else am I just going to be a good guy in AA? Just for 1 hour a day, I'm just going to be this guy that thinks like I'm better, like I'm healed and I'm cured, and I come into this room and I sound great, but then the other 23 hours of the day, I'm honking my horn, I'm yelling at my wife, I'm getting upset with my son, right? That's not who I want to be. I want to work things out with a rational mind. What else was I got to say real quick? I also think like a big part of living my program was getting connected. I believe connection is the answer to it. I work with a bunch of doctors and I tell them I have the cure for alcoholism. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I have the cure for alcoholism. And know what that is? It's human beings. It's us. It's we come into this meeting, we get connected with another human being. We take our masks off, not the COVID-19 mask, but the mask that we wear of, the joker, the tough guy, the know-it-all. We take that mask off and we become vulnerable and we trust another human being. I mean, and that's the thing it's like, when I relapsed the first time, I had another alcoholic at my doorstep Wednesday night at 10:07, picking me up for the 7 o'clock meeting. When I told him on the phone, like I was done going to these meetings, but he didn't let me go. Like who else would do that? I quit Home Depot because I was hungover. I was like, oh, this place stinks. You guys are a bunch of jerks. I was like 22 years young. I was like, what do you guys know about life? Look at you. You're about a bunch of losers in your orange smocks. And I quit. I didn't see anybody showing up at my dad's door saying, hey, Matt, don't quit. You don't know what you're doing with your life. Take some suggestions, right? So I really believe the connection is a big part of my story too. And it's like, I think it's up to home group members to talk to the newcomers, not to scare them away, but to talk to them, and say, hey, here we are. And here's another thing about doing recovery on the screen. I had a sponsee get clean on the screen. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous, so we use different terms, right? We use clean instead of sober, but it's all 12-step based. But this one of my friends got clean. So I got him a t-shirt, he got clean on the screen, but I hear a lot of people saying like, oh, Zoom doesn't work for me. Zoom, ladies and gentlemen, we have to stop giving that message. I mean, if we can give a message of Alcoholics Anonymous saying like, we are available here for you, to listen to you, to help you through your struggles, when you're having cravings, when you have self-doubt, when you have any type of thoughts that is false thinking, right? We're here for you. The only thing about Zoom that I can agree with is that we can't hug one another, right? We can't give that good AA hug, where it's like we get connected, right? But hopefully we can build relationships on the screen and take people and say, hey, let's meet for a coffee. I think it's important that, and it's wonderful, like this Zoom happens, so like none of our meetings really shut down. We can continue to see one another and continue to get the message of hope, right? I just feel like, once again, when I don't live my program, and I what's living my program, if everybody's been in the program, if the step 10 and this step 10 doesn't make sense to you, that's okay, keep coming. Because like I had no idea what step 1 was, step 2 was. The only important step my sponsor told me back in the day was the doorstep to any meeting. Just get your foot in a meeting, get your hand up and tell people that you're struggling and where you're at, and that was tough for me because I wanted to be that tough guy, right? I didn't want to share I was hurting. I didn't want to share that I was in pain, right? I didn't want to share that I had self-doubt, but I truly believe, like, if I didn't have the opportunity to meet such great men and women in a fellowship that wants nothing from me, just another day sober. I think that's just amazing. So my unmanageability happens when, like, I was talking about, like, that step 10, like I talk about, like, did you talk to your sponsor? Did you go to a meeting? What would you have done differently? How did you act? Who do you owe an amends to? Like all this stuff. Like when I don't do my program, right, and I start living in my past, that's when my life becomes unmanageable. My past is my past, and I've been through it, and I don't need to go through it anymore. This is why when I talk and people ask me to share, I don't go into the drunkalogs or the horrific stories, because like that's my experience when I'm drinking. My experience now is like I'm full of like happiness, joy, and freedom. Like before, I was like restless, irritable, and discontent, right? And this is like, if I continue to do the things that I've done, that my forefathers and my foremothers have taught me, right, about how to stay sober one day at a time. I mean, I'll end with this. I don't even know what time it is. I don't have a phone. My computer's on. I don't even care. But I just want to end with this. It's like I read this today. I thought it was pretty good. It said, "Do not cling to old ways as we step into the new year." Right. So whatever my old ways were, right, I don't want to bring them into 2022. And the thing is, whatever my old ways were today, I don't want to bring them in January 2nd, right? I try to be the best human being possible, right? I'm trying to be better man than I was yesterday. I don't know. I just like, also I just want to say, like, Ed, thank you very much. And like, I know Ed's not celebrating tonight, but like, Ed and I are cut from the same cloth. And what do I mean by that? I had no idea Ed was in the program. And when Ed and I became friendlier, Ed is a man that I look up to because he is a man of like honor and dignity. And like, I know nothing about his past. I just know who the man he is today. And this is why we have great conversation, because we're in the same for the greater good. Ed's been in the bottom of that hole. Marianne, you've been in the bottom of the hole. I've been in that bottom of the hole. John has been in that bottom of the hole. And it took another alcoholic to jump into that hole to show me the way out. And like, Ed, like, thank you very much for the work that you do. It's my pleasure working like with you, but not really with you type of thing. And it's just, it's an amazing number to have in my phone just to pick up, to say, hey, you want to know something? How are you doing? And it leads into the most beautiful, loving conversation between two men. And that sentence that I just said, a loving conversation between two men, I would never have said that in my life before I walked into the halls of Alcoholics Anonymous. I wish everybody here on the screen and their families a healthy and happy 2022. May God continue to bless us. And I don't know. Thank you again, Ed, for being who you are. I really do respect you. My name is Matt. I'm an alcoholic.
That concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery Saturday Shares.